So I'm in the Laguna Canyon area, and I cannot wait to show you the pageant of the Masters. But more importantly, Festival of Arts is happening here in Laguna, and I want to take you to some incredible artists who are really merging or maybe kind of blurring the lines between art and technology, and they're also incredibly attractive. What's up, it's Nick Poliokini, and this handsome gentleman to my right is Gary Musgrave, and he is a mixed media artist. What would you call yourself, kind of, because you have so much, you have a different background, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but what would you consider yourself now?
Oh gosh, I'd like to think of myself as a tinkerer and adventurer.
Okay,
you know,
accurate, I get that.
I don't think that if we're talking on a commercial level, like I've had my degree and I got my title and that's what I did, but in terms of personal interests, it's hard to keep my interest in one space.
Okay.
So
I get that.
You know,
is there a sprinkle of ADHD maybe in there along with the creative side?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I mean, in one way.
No. I think it's a strength. In my learning process.
Superpower.
Sure.
Sometimes it is, it's challenging.
No, I get that.
But I've got lots of unfinished projects too.
Sure. Okay. I think that's it, and we all have those. But I know that you've completed a lot of them. But let's go back even further in time.
Sure.
Take me back to Gary as a child. Did you have a nickname when you were a kid?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm 44 now.
Okay, I'm 42, so I get it. We're in that same that age range.
When I say kid, I'm gonna go back to like say late teens,
sure,
early 20s.
I'm good with that.
And oddly enough, the lamest nickname that I always had, no matter where I went, and even if those people didn't know each other, the name came with me, was Crazy Gary, which,
okay,
it's like I worked in a restaurant and those people never knew any of the friends from high school, and yet that name somehow came about. So
okay.
I think that must be accurate in terms of
Would you say the crazy came into being because of your unique view on the world, as opposed to, I mean, obviously
Absolutely.
You're not a 5150, maybe a little bit.
5150?
Yeah. Oh, the police code for crazy.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you talking about my ethnic background?
Because no.
I am half.
Yes. No. Oh, well, that's funny. So you're half what?
So my mom is Vietnamese.
Okay.
And then my dad is a Native American, Hispanic, English, a whole mutt thing, but he's got red hair and freckles. So, I grew up as a mixed kid, not quite anything.
Okay.
I think that plays into kind of a.
That's what I was going to say. So how does that color where you are now? Because I think that's a very interesting background. And I think a lot of people that are tuning in Conversation with Nick really do kind of straddle the line between different backgrounds and different experiences. So how has that kind of colored yours growing up?
Well, it made me an outsider everywhere. I wasn't Vietnamese or Asian enough to kind of categorize in with those Asian kids, and I wasn't clearly, especially when I was younger, was not like a white kid. I remember I was like, I wish I looked more Hispanic, because there was a lot of Hispanic kids where I grew up. And what's interesting about how that played out in my life is that currently now DEI is such a big deal.
It is.
And I've applied for jobs and they're like, well, what's your DEI statement, right? And I don't like that question. I mean,
explain for those who don't know what DEI means. What does that mean?
Diversity, equity, and inclusivity.
Right, okay.
And the reason why I don't like it is because first off, I'm married, my wife is from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right? Like I married an immigrant.
And we'll be talking to her in a little bit as well, and maybe see your adorable child as well.
Yeah,
but yes.
He's a charm. And so there's that aspect. But in addition to that, being always kind of like on the outside, I learned to navigate all sorts of different cultures, and I've always been very accepting of those cultures too. So when they ask me to make a statement, I feel like there's no statement. It's not a checklist. It's a way of life. Like I just am a person who treats everybody equally. Because I wasn't any part of any group. I just wanted a fair shot, and I think everybody else gets one too.
I think that's great.
But to make it as a specific statement, I think feels it doesn't feel genuine to me.
I can understand that.
I think I should just be by example.
And I get that. Now, just kind of pulling back the curtain, because we were able to chit chat a little bit beforehand, you teach at Cal State Long Beach.
Yes.
Talk to me how you instilled that value in your students. when you're talking to them? Because that's, I mean, there's a diverse cast of characters.
Absolutely.
And a lot of different backgrounds.
Right.
All throughout education, especially higher education, but, you know, going back to childhood, but specifically at Cal State Long Beach, and they really try to push into that diversity component.
Absolutely.
So what have you found in your teaching there?
Well, so there's a prime example of not really being able to make a statement about it. It's just when they come in the classroom, if they're in a seat, if they're a student, if they're eager to learn, then that's what I do. You know, like I just give them the opportunity. Something that I found was that I personally don't feel like I see their color, their preferences, any of those things. I just see them as a student. And I've been faulted. I had somebody give me a criticism once. I mean, I get positives and negatives, whatever.
Sure,
that's the nature of things. Saying that, oh, Gary plays favorites. And I didn't deny that. I absolutely lean into it. I do play favorites. If you work hard and you try hard and you ask questions and you're engaged, you're my favorite.
It makes sense. I get it.
You know, if you don't care, well, then you're not my favorite. Doesn't mean I treat you poorly.
No, I get that. But
you don't. The people who ask get the engagement.
Right, and it sounds to me, in the time that we've talked, you like people that rise to the occasion.
Sure,
because
absolutely.
you've been able to kind of experience that in your life, and you've had different experiences. Time has gone by. But let's transition into what's going on here at Festival of Arts for you specifically.
Yeah.
Let's transition. We'll take off the teacher hat and let's go a little bit into it. And when I open it up, talking about kind of the merger of technology and art, you have such a different perspective. So walk me through some of your pieces and what's your process of all the things that you put together.
Okay, so discovery is a very important aspect to me. Now, I was describing to some people before that as an illustrator who has to do a lot of research into whatever topic I'm doing a job for, that implements a lot of control on my end.
Got it.
As a person who did a lot of printmaking, that also implements a lot of planning and control. And so that when you have that much control, there's not the as much spontaneity in the application because the exploration was done in the beginning, right? You were working out all the nooks and crannies of what something was going to be. And then when you get to the actual application, you just kind of apply it. Right. So I chose mediums that I had no experience in with the goal to add a little bit of like bull in a china shop.
I get that. I get that more than you realize.
Because I already knew that what the ideas I had were complete in their design, but not in their application. And I wanted a little bit of unpredictability as to the medium working.
And it's pretty wild because it is truly unpredictable. We were able to look at some of the pieces before this.
Okay.
Walk me through a little bit of, because we heard you talking to so many other people as well.
Sure.
Walk me through some of the things that are presented here, just because they all have, I mean, if you can kind of see, there's flashing lights, there's some unique pieces of technology, and you've got a lot that you involved in that. So what does it take in your planning process? I know you've got a lot of trial and error and discovery with it, but what does it take in that planning process? I mean, you talked about Arduino and all the other things, all these technological components that people in the traditional art world aren't necessarily familiar with or using. Correct.
Yeah. Well, so I guess it starts from actually a place of let's go back.
Sure.
I went to Art Center.
Got it.
That was my undergrad. And when I went there, I was a little bit older than the majority that was there. Right? Like it took me a while to decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pursue art. And so I got there and I needed the tough love. I needed people to say, that doesn't work. This does work. Stop doing that. I didn't need people to say, explore your feelings.
Got it.
So while I was there, I was also working as a bartender. I ended up working for artist James Jean for a number of years, right? I'm sure you as an art fan would know him. And so what I realized about myself was I had other responsibilities. I had to pay my rent, do all these other things. And I wasn't able to dive as deep into refining my skill as some of my other friends that were younger than me living at home, just refining, becoming amazing practitioners. So I focused my energy on using life experience or my own struggles as points of interest to dive off of, and to lean into being a little bit more dangerous with the way that I apply things, even though I have a very controlled sense in the design aspect. And I think that if I couldn't apply my technical prowess to create photorealism or something along those nature, then I needed to push other boundaries. And so taking things that like pop culture or movies like Back to the Future, where like what seems like could have been possible, I wanted to implement that into the work. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, but I think we're running out of time, so I want to encourage people to learn more about you. Where can we find you on social media, online? Where's the best that we can learn more about Gary?
I've always done great at this. It's been quick to get my name as my website, so GaryMusgrave.com. If you look me up on Instagram, it's Gary Musgrave. Facebook, it's Gary Musgrave. Everything is just Gary Musgrave. Kept it real straightforward.
So it's super easy, super simple. The same with me, thisweekendwithnick.com, Nick Poliokini, or This Weekend with Nick on Instagram. Check out In Conversation with Nick on YouTube to learn more about Gary and so much more here at Festival of Arts and the Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach. Thanks, Gary. It's been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you.